Dan, the start of an Olympics has to bring back great memories for you just as it does for me. Let's start there. Is there one moment out of the Olympic movement that you had a chance to witness in person that stands above and beyond the rest?
Well, for one, it's kind of odd not being in Tokyo and seeing what's going on. I'd love to be there, but understand the current situation and so forth. But yeah, there's one moment that absolutely jumps out of my mind, and it's something that nobody else really saw except the people that were in that room. I was working wrestling one year, and there was I guess a very young Russian wrestler who was in one of the very small weight classes, probably 112, 115 pounds. And he had just finished his gold medal match. He had won his gold medal. I was sitting with John Smith inside the waiting room where all the athletes were waiting to, how shall we put it, make their sample that they had to do. And beer was flowing. They don't care how much beer you drink. They just want you to make a sample so they can do the drug testing. And this guy who weighed about 115 pounds had gone through probably about a 12-pack to try to hydrate himself. And when his name was finally called, he was a little unsteady on his feet to the point that he walked right into a door jamb. And blood's coming down his nose and so forth. And he turned to the rest of us who were in the room and just with this big grin and just went, It was, and I'm looking over at John Smith, and he's breaking up laughing. He had just won an Olympic medal also. And we're just breaking up laughing. And we said, this is what some of this is about. It's about these guys and what they go through and what happens a lot of times behind the scenes that most people don't get a chance to see. And I consider myself very fortunate that I got to see that and so many other things.
The one great thing about the Olympics, or maybe not so great, but it's the one thing that makes it so dramatic is, these men and women train for 4 years for that one moment. And it may happen, it may not happen, but when it does, it's that much more special. And we're in a society where we see things, especially now with social media, that's instant gratification, but the sports that we're used to seeing here year after year after year, in Olympic-type sports where really your chance at glory comes once every 4 years and you get that moment, how much more special in your mind does it make what actually is going to happen on the courts and the fields and the different venues over the next 17 days?
Well, I make a point because of that. And this year, these people have gone through, like you said, 4 years, many of them now 5 years waiting for this to happen. That's why I make a point to watch every year, and especially this year, I'll watch those sports that don't get a lot of attention. When they have the sailing competition, and when they have the wrestling competition, when they have the table tennis competition, where they have all these things that don't get a lot of exposure. This is that one shot for these athletes, and I'll go back and I'll do my homework. I'll look at who the U.S. athletes are in these sports, and I'll try to watch them, and I'll be there cheering them on, trying to get them there, because I know what they have gone through. And they have waited for this very moment. So many of them will go on to careers, in the major sports where they'll have a chance to play professionally. They'll have a chance to make money off themselves and so forth. A lot of these people won't get that opportunity. That's the ones I sort of look for.
25 years ago this month, you and I were both in Atlanta as part of the USOC delegation. And I say
5 years? Oh, my gosh.
And I say to this day, of all the things that I've had a chance to witness in person, and it's a lot of them, that the opening ceremony with Muhammad Ali lighting the torch that really only a handful of people knew was coming at that point, just out of nowhere, is as moving a moment that I have witnessed in a sports setting in my lifetime. Your thoughts on what you saw that night and some of your memories from Atlanta?
Well, if you don't get excited about the opening ceremonies, you're not a sports fan, and you're not a fan of the human race, because there's just so much involved in that. It is the epitome of what we are. And you're right. Every time there's an opening ceremony, I'll watch, and I will be there, and I'll try to watch, sort of picture myself in that situation. But you're right, that night in '96 in Atlanta, when Ali came out of nowhere, lit the torch after so many of these other great athletes and former athletes had done their part in getting the torch to that point. It hit everybody. And it hit everybody in the whole stadium, probably hit everybody in the world who were watching on TV. It's one of the most special moments that I've ever seen in my life.
Another thing you had a chance to witness in person, as I was sitting back in your office at your desk at that point, was in Seoul in 1988 when one of your own athletes got a chance to medal, Hollis Conway, in the high jump, and you got a chance to break away from your own responsibilities for a day to witness that. What was that like to be able to see that happen in person?
Well, that was special because I developed a good relationship with Hollis. He was obviously a college athlete at then USL, and to see him accomplish that on a world stage, I knew he was good. He had the numbers and so forth. I knew he had a chance to do something. But to see him win a silver medal and to be only maybe 50 feet away from the high jump pit, which is where I was, made it even more special. Still didn't have a lot of contact because there's all this distancing involved. But just to be that close and to see his face, to see the smile on his face when he got the height that would eventually win him the silver medal, it's a picture that it's just embedded in my mind that I'll never forget.
You talk about distancing and things, and we spin it back forward to 2021 now, and really no fans pretty much in the stands in Tokyo because of COVID-19. How much of a difference do you think it's going to make in terms of the atmosphere of these Olympics?
Oh, it's going to be huge. There's, the atmosphere just won't be there. And I know television is going to try to do as much as they can to try to make it normal, make a normal situation out of something that is as far from normal as it gets. My concern is it affects the athletes because so many of them play on the crowd. They live by the emotions that the crowd brings and so forth, and they won't have that this time. It won't surprise me if there are some people that come out of this when it's over with and they almost have a feeling of disappointment. Even though they have done everything they could do, they have a little bit feeling of disappointment that they did not get to compete in front of that kind of environment.
Dan, I know you'll be watching closely here over the next 17 days to see the next great moment, the next great American star, the next great everything that we may see come out of these Tokyo Olympics, just as I'll be doing. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And there will be some come out. We just don't know who they are right now.